Okay guys, for this second part we are going to work on the noise strands to make this cloth look even better. For the noise strands we need to add first a rump. Let me explain a little bit what's going to happen here. We have two different directions, right? We have a vertical direction and an horizontal direction. If we take the horizontal directions, it's going to look like this, and the vertical are going to look something like this, right? So for the noise, I will need to add noise to make or to remove the appearance of the pattern. And also, I will need to add the information for the actual strand that makes the cloth itself. For that, I will need to add information here that follows the way of the pattern, being vertical and horizontal patterns. And not only that, I will need also to add some noise, and I could even add some waves to make the noise be real, an actual noise here. I will add that noise to the diffuse values and to the bump values. I could also even add the noise to the reflection paths to make it even more evident. So how to make this kind of noise that reads the horizontal pattern, the vertical pattern, and also the repetition of the pattern itself over the geometry. So for that, we have two ways. Michael did one way, but it didn't work for me, so I had to redo the pattern. We are going to make a ramp, and the ramp we are going to use it to make the strands, or each wave that we want to add for the actual need. I will add one more color, each 0.125. Why? Because that way I will have 4 sections here. So that's 3.75, 0.375, 5.5, 0.625, 0.625, 7, 50, 0.875, and the last one it's 1. And I will change to black just the ones in between. That way I will have this pattern. If I take this pattern here, right, let me make the example here. If I take this pattern and apply this pattern to the ones that are horizontal, I will have as a result these waves simulating the noise, right? So I will have strands there. And if I add some waves to the strand, I will even add some noise. So it's going to look like actual hair strands working there. But I will not add something like that. I will even add some frequency and make something like that. But right now, I'm going to leave everything as it is. And this is going to be the basic ramp for the horizontal. I will add the second part of this pattern. For that, I will need to look for this guy. This guy is the one that has the information here, right? With this, we can see I'm going to reduce the repetitions for you to actually see what's happening here. I'm going to put 1 and 1. So here I will need to tell to my shader to use the red value here for the horizontal lines and the blue value to the vertical lines. For that, I will need to add a layer texture. And I have already the pattern for the vertical lines. I need to add the pattern for the horizontal lines. But I need both to be connected to the same place to the texture. So we'll go to Edit, Duplicate, and Duplicate with Network Connections. And this one, it's going to be the vertical pattern. So this is the easy part. Yeah, it's the easy part. It's going to get a little bit more complex here. For the vertical, I'm going to connect here, and I'm going to connect here, the horizontal pattern. It's good to name your file so you can actually see the names here. So I have my vertical pattern and my horizontal pattern. The vertical one, I will need to change the coordinates for the vertical one, and I made a mistake here. I don't need this guy to be using the same place to texture. That was the way that it didn't work, for me at least. So I will need to duplicate both of these guys, like Edit, Duplicate, Shading Network. And this one, it's going to be the vertical pattern. And I'm going to select the place to the texture and rotate the frame 90 degrees. I will also go for U-ramp. That's this exact same result. So right now I have vertical and have horizontal patterns here. And I will add my vertical pattern here and the horizontal pattern here. I will put both of them to add. And if I took something like this, you're going to see that I have some weird behavior here. But it's going to work, I swear. I will add a black pattern at the end, a black color, just to be sure that we have everything. Now, I need to tell these guys to only be visible where the vertical patterns are. If I go to Photoshop, here on Photoshop, if you go for the red pattern, for the red one, you're going to see that the red channel, it's the one that has the horizontal lines. The green channel, it's the one that has the depth information, and the blue channel is the one that has the vertical lines. But if you look closely, this looks like an alpha. So I can mask with this channel, with the blue channel, the actual information that I have on my vertical line. So the blue channel, it's going to call the alpha for the vertical line. So let's try to make this guy work. So I have my layer texture. I'm going to put the alpha to 0 on the horizontal and the vertical one. And I'm going to go and select my input 1, that is going to be the vertical line. And we told that it was the blue channel, and I'm going to plug the blue channel to the alpha channel. And as you can see, now I have the alpha. The alpha, it's working just as we need it to work. It's masking all the strands. Now, it's not actually working because we need to have repetitions with it for gradients, right? On the ramp, so we have 4 ramp gradients, but we need these 4 ramp gradients to be here. Each of them need to be repeated, something like this, over each strand. If you look closely here, you have like 12 6 repetitions here, so we will add 12 repetitions to the map. So that vertical line is going to be repeated 4 times each square. For that, I will need to read everything again from this place to the texture. There is reading the file here. So if I change the actual scale of this channel, it changes the scale here. So again, let's make this clear. I have this scale. If this scale is 1, let's say we have 1 here, and this scale here should be 4, right? 4 times the amount of density per strand here. So if I change this repetition here to 4, I need to multiply this number per this number and to have the result that it's going to be 16, right? Now that's being 4. The actual number that we have to use is around 12 to 14, something like that. Michael, it's using 12 and it's working, so I'm going to leave 12. So I need to multiply this number here per 12, and that is going to be the repetition of this file here. I hope that's clear, because we need to have that amount of vertical strands for the bump map. So that's just the strands of hair of the actual hair there. For that, we need to multiply, so we will create a multiply divide, and we will look for the repeat UV. Remember that we are using the repeat UV here, and that we have actually, and we can have a sheet here. Remember the sheet. If we connect the repeat UV to the repeat UV, we have the actual number, the same number, so everything is going to look the same. So we actually just need one value here, and I'm going to take the B value, that is the one that it's free, to the input one. So when I change, you're going to see 1 here. When I change this value to 4, I'm going to see this value change to 4. Okay, so we'll leave 1. And as we said before, we need this value 1 to be multiplied by 12. So the value under, it's going to be multiplied by 12. Now the result, it's going to be red. You're not going to see anything here. But on the output X, it's going to have the result of the multiply by 12. So now we will need to look for the repeat UV, the same here, and just to connect both to the repeat UV, both repeat UVs. So repeat UV here and repeat UV here. So we are multiplying these values, as you can see now. This value says 1, this value says multiply by 12, and now this value says 12. If I move this value to 2, right now it's saying per 2, and the last value is 24. So you can actually see that everything is looking a little bit different now. Over here you can see the same, but if I change to this value, if I take this value here, it's going to look weird. But if I take this one here, we are going to see that everything it's like repeating a lot. So we have 24 repetitions of this noise over the strands. And if I go to the layer texture where we have the mask, we are going to see, let me see, it's going to be hard to see, but we have all the repetitions there. Now we have the out color, the UV curves, and we have the place to the texture, the repetitions, and the actual hair there. So now Let's do the same for the other strand. We need to connect the same UV value here, and let's look for repeat UV. You see repeat UV here. I'm going to connect repeat B and repeat U, and let's look here, and now it's working because I was using the other one. So as you can see, now I have 4 strands of hair per strand of cloth. You can add more repetitions if you go to the multiply divide and say something like 24. So you're going to have like a lot of repetitions there. 12 is working, so you have to actually see the detail really close to see for detail for bumps there. So I have one texture here, right? I just have the alpha for the vertical lines. I need to add the alpha for the horizontal lines. The horizontal lines, you can see the actual horizontal lines there, but we are working with add, so you're multiplying the other value. I don't want to multiply the other value. So the other lines are going to be the red channel, that one that has the other alpha. For that, let's take 3. The red channel here. So this is the horizontal map here. Let's rearrange everything. So we have the horizontal map. Let's open the input and let's take the red value, as we said, to the alpha. And now you can see that we actually have the noise applied to our scene. Let's work now with the noises. We have the noise here, but the ramp is perfect. So let's add a wave. We are working with the horizontal ones. So let's add a wavy line and a little bit of noise. Just a tiny bit of noise. I don't want that much noise because it's going to look weird if I add too much noise. And the frequency, it can be higher. I want it to look like noisy. I don't want to have a pattern. So you can actually see that now I completely broke the pattern. You can even add some noise here. If you add a noise like a fractal noise, like the one that I have over here, let me save this scene before, and let's look for the fractal. I have the fractal somewhere. Here is my fractal. So if I take this guy here and I plug the fractal here, you're going to see that now I have really a lot of noise. And you can imagine the behavior there, but that's going to add some noise and it's going to be hard to sample that one. So let's reduce the frequency a tiny bit and reduce a little bit the waves. And now let's add some more information to the weight here. If you want perfect strands of hair, you can just omit this step. It's not going to help you, but cloth is not perfect, so this step is going to help you a lot. And you can see that you just with that amount of information, you have a really nice map there. So I have my map ready. I need to apply this map to the bump. So with Redshift, you just need to go to overall and look for the bump and apply everything to the bump, and with a value of around 2 to see the actual results. And now I have everything ready. Let's render this guy out, and I save the scene. Let's render this one. So as you can see, it's complex, but if you understand what's happening behind the scenes, it's actually really cool to use. Maybe I will even need a little bit more of... Oh, I put it on the other one. I didn't unplug it where I should have. The bump map, there it is. That's the cloth apron. I was using the redshift material, but it's a tester. So now it's working. And you can see that it's not working as should work here. Because this one, it's a weird one, and I don't know what the hell happened to this guy. Let's omit that one for a second there. So it's working. It's not working here. I think, let me see. Okay, that's a weird behavior. It's not going to affect us on a real level. So let's leave that for the moment. And let's focus on the actual hairs and shaders here. So now you can see that it's actually working, and you can see that the strands are following the pattern that we said before. The vertical ones show the pattern on a vertical way, and the other ones are horizontals. Now, if I take this value here and go for value like 8, let's move this one a little bit. Let's close this guy. It's weird here, but that's okay. You can see that now we can actually see some of the strands working over there, and they start to look like actual pattern for strands. I can even work a little bit more and add a little bit more of waves. Still trying to work here. So the word waves are nice, maybe a little bit more wispy, and you're going to be able to see that the vertical lines now have more noise there. They're too big for the actual material, so let's go for 12. See the result there. Remember that we are changing the displacement map. We are changing also all the maps, not just the color. We are changing everything. So now we have the actual cloth. I could try to reverse this guy, maybe. Let's see. Okay, it's a weird behavior that we have on that part of the model. I will have to look for everything there to see what's the real reason behind that behavior. So you can see now we have a nice blend here. Remember that we are using 4K renders, and you can see the actual speed of the render is great. Now we have the displacement map, we have the model working, and everything is of the same color. So let's take our color cloth and let's make this color a little bit darker and this color a little bit brighter. So it will be, the other ones should be the other way around. And you can see the fast speed where I can change the color. If I want this color to be white and the other color to be black, or to change actual colors, it's quite fast to do. So this way you can see the cloth pattern working. It's even look good when this error gets into really short and small values. You can see the cloth here. I know that it's bigger than the actual knot that it should have. You can see the values, they are working and they look great. And I can even make something like this. I could add it could be a ramp, it could be an attribute color, it could be anything. So let's add a ramp. So this is going to be a ramp. Or if you know the values, you can use directly the multiply, divide, but I like to use something like this. And for this color, I'm going to use just one color here. And let's say that I will add the old color that we were using before. And I will connect this one to the right color, and I will multiply by 2 the color. So the color on the input one, it's going to be darker, and the color on the input 2, it's going to be brighter. So let's connect this one here, unless let's connect the brighter value here. And when we see that render now, you're going to see that we have 2 colors, one brighter and one darker, and the dark color that we are going to see behind everything. And if I change the basic color, if I go for let's say this color here, now I have a perfect color, always just changing one color for this kind of work. I could do that one here, yeah, I just could multiply the color 1 per color 2 and rearrange everything here, but it's not that good, so it's easier to make it work this way. So you can see that the result is great, and we are seeing a lot of information here. But so this is going to be base color. If I make this guy to be not something like this, and it's the one that I prefer actually to add a new level of control. For the base color, I could add a layer texture and select the color here and add to the actual color, the out color here, to the input of input 1, and the cloth here, it's going to be the base color that I set before. Let's wait. Okay, it's working now. So I can add patterns, noises, and everything to the base color. This is my base color, so I can change everything, and we are going to have all the patterns on all the strands like a texture, but you can achieve the result with the other values also. Remember that this is only talking about the values, so you can even add some noise to one value and to make 2 different layer texture to connect. So you can make really complex patterns here. Remember that I have the first pattern, and now I'm going to look for my bump map. So this one, it's the bump combination, and I will add my bump map, this one here, to my cloth color. So we'll add the bump map here, and we'll add this guy on top, and we'll make it a multiply in a really low value, like 22, something like that. So that's going to affect the actual color with the information from our noise. Not only with the information for the change of colors, but we are going to have also the information from the noises. And remember that this is procedural information, so it's quite easy to handle and great to render. And you can see that now we have the detail not only on the actual color, but on the actual bump, but we have the help of the color there, so it looks like a real shadow from the strand. So we are helping the render, the lighting, like kind of baking, so faking a little bit the strands to make a perfect kind of cloth. So you now can see that it looks like strands. We can change a little bit here to make it look like bigger and more displacement map and everything, but this is just too big. I will reduce the amount here, and I will add the same bump again, but this time I'm going to add the bump with a value really low on add. Why? Because we have the shadows, and now I'm going to add the brightest values. So we are going to have some kind of highlights on the actual color. So the brighter the highlight, the brighter the new color it's going to look here. So you can see now that we have some highlights over there. I could add like a really satin, and you're going to be able to see the satin here. So it's like washing everything out, but we have the detail there and we can see the actual detail there. I'm going to put the bump with the multiply on top. I don't want the add value to wash the other values, so something like that, just a little bit to see the result here. Maybe I could even make this value a tiny bit higher for the bump. I like the result. You can see that we have some specks there, and I will do the same technique for our reflection weight. So I will take the bump here and I will add a multiply value here first. Let's see the cloud here. So that's a really hard multiply. I don't want to have that big multiply there, but I do want to have that information over here. And I will want to add, let's see how it's looking. So you can see that we have more noise, more information, and now we can see some nice shapes there. These are subtle details, but these kind of details are the ones that really defines the value. And remember that this is full procedural. So you can change the first texture and everything is going to change. And you can change the base color and you can change all the colors of the actual scene. And now let's add again our bump. This time we are going to add this bump on add. So behind the old bump, and this one should have an add value and a really low value over here. Remember that this is going to define the Fresnel and the reflection where it can reflect and where it should not reflect. So we are going to see that we have some reflections on the strands itself. So you are going to see more reflection on the actual strands, not just on the deformation from the displacement map and that kind of stuff, sino on the actual strands, as you can see here. I could take this displacement map over here. Where is my displacement map? Scale. I should take the displacement map scale value higher, like 1.5. Let's see how that goes. I know that the depth is there and I should not affect the depth, but it was too low here. So this is a really big scale, so it should be visible on that kind of scale, and I like it. And now let's make the actual scale for this cloth. It's going to be something like 24. And it's working. And we have a really nice cloth. So you can see here, you can see the deformations, you can see even the hair, how the hair affects the Fresnel here. Sadly, we can see some pattern here. We will have to fix that with a little bit more of noise over there, but that's easy. And you can see that there are no pattern here on these borders. We can add Exian and fibers to the cloth. We will add some Exian and some fibers to the actual final cloth, so don't worry about that. and the scale is too big for the displacement map. I should affect not here the displacement shader, but I will have to affect the actual scale of the displacement on each of the models. As you can see, I don't have the strands are not visible anymore, so I'll have to work that out, at least on this part of the mesh. Everything else is working really fine. And let's add a color to the base color for you to see. I will look for a file. Let me see where I have my files. Okay, I just found a nice black Echo Blue Buckle Nor texture that I had on my old cloth textures, and this is a basic noise. I'm going to show you the file. Let me find where my file is. Here. No. Color cloth. So let's look for my color cloth. So you can see we have a nice big layer texture buckle. Here it is. So you can see that we have some nice noise here. It's just a new level of detail. It's weird, the interface. So it's just a black texture with some noises and some actual scan for cloth. So we will add a new level of detail behind everything there, and that's a really big texture, so I need to make maybe 2 and 2 repetitions, and the actual detail it's here now. So even with blacks, that is one of the hardest to make cloth, you can see the detail here. I will change the cloth to a new one. Maybe something like, these are patterns, something like this. Let me fix it. Okay, let's open the new pattern. As you can see, we are going to respect everything here, and we have the actual, okay, I didn't cut it perfectly. Let's remove something here. That's it. Let's save. And let's take this guy again. This is the one. And let's re-render. So you can see that with new textures, everything it's going to work. We have the deformations, we have everything of what we need, and it's working. You can see the pattern on the textures. It's looking quite great, and you can see how it is working. Now for the last detail that I like to add, you don't have to add this detail if you don't want to. It's to add a new multiply divide, and select the color, the out color here. Sometimes that just does not work. So the out color to input, and here on the material for redshift and backlighting, just add some basic lighting and add the multiply divide. The out color, you're going to multiply the color for a value of 2 or 3, depends on your material, and let's add a little bit of backlight translucency. So the light, it's going to pass through the actual shape of the cloth, and you're going to be able to see the final light to come through the cloth. It's not an alpha, it's an translucency itself. Let's put a better color here. This color is a little bit weird. Multiply divide. I think that's the one. And let's use the other pattern, just to be sure that we have the right results. let's wait for the render. So now you can see even we have little bright value here. It's too bright, I think. Yeah, it's too bright. But you can see the actual result over here. We have a nice pattern. We have the texture over the patterns, and you can see the strands, the noise there. It's really subtle, but you can see the strands there. I will need to fix some of the Fresnel, and I could do that quite easily in two ways. I could add a new noise for the fractal noise, or to come here, let's look for the noise, cloud apron, let's arrange everything again. The reflection weight. The easiest way is to reduce here the reflection weight or the actual Fresnel. So we can reduce the Fresnel here a tiny bit, and you're going to be able to see that we don't have that burning values anymore. We can even reduce the value of the weight, and we can reduce some different values to have the perfect work there. And also let's move a little bit to the other cameras that we have on the shader bowl. Let's look for the side view. It's one of my favorite cameras, so you can see the actual result there. Okay guys, this is the result. And as you can see, we have a great cloth, amazing patterns. You can see the strands of hair. You can see the noise here. If you see my actual pattern here, no, that's not the one, this is the one. And you can see that it's really clean. We don't have anything else on the gray values. But if you come and see this one here, we actually have the hairs and the noise, and that's for the fractal. The fractal that we have over here, it's the one that is controlling all that kind of noises. You can even add some fractal for one slot and from fractal for the other slot, and have a better looking cloud there. So that was for this lesson. I hope you like the lesson of how to make cloths and how to work with cloths. So thank you so much for following that tutorial.